Hello friend, in this session we are going to learn about the objectives of a technical interview. So there are certain objectives that we need to follow while conducting an interview. So basically we have whenever we are going to conduct an interview we have already set our mind that we want a candidate who match the job requirement or who fulfill that position. So that is what 100% of the interviewer think before going to an interview. But there are certain objectives that we need to keep in mind while conducting an interview. So let us see one by one what are the objectives that we need to keep in our mind whenever we are going for a whenever we are going to conduct a interview. So let us see our first objective. So whenever you are going to conduct an interview, you should rate a candidate on his or her strength. Why it is important? Why on strength? So basically what happen in general perception around technical interviews that we conduct an interview to reject a candidate who don't qualify a project requirement. So usually we do that only, like if the candidate doesn't match the project requirement, then why should we hire him or her? So why should we hire him if he is not matching the job requirement? So we just straight away reject his. So that is not a right way to conduct an interview, especially in a technical interview. So we need to give justice to the interviewer's strength. So like if suppose a candidate is having a good knowledge of the skill or the technology on which we are hiring, so we need to give him a chance, or we need to give him at least a chance to go him to a second round. So most interviewer ask question based on their strength and not based on what the candidate knows well. So that is also an important thing, that whenever we are conducting an interview, so we have a list of questions and we just want answers of that question. That's it. We don't want any other thing, what other skill or what other strength the during the interview the candidate shows us. So we don't have any interest in that. We just want our questions to be answered by him. So in this elimination process, interviewer miss a golden opportunity to select candidates who are very technically strong but may not match the given job description. So that is also a problem. Like if suppose we are hiring a SQL developer and he's technically strong on a SQL, but he is not strong with certain aspect of SQL. Like if we are hiring a SQL developer, so in SQL there are different modules, like we need to like he has a good knowledge about cursor, he has a good knowledge about views, writing queries and all, but he doesn't have any knowledge of a store procedure. So we reject, because store procedure is mandatory for our job requirement. So we reject the candidate straight away. We don't think that a second we don't give him second chance. Why? Because he don't know store procedure but he is very good in other aspect of SQL. So that is the important objective that we need to think while conducting an interview. We need to give him a chance, because in technical everything is important, yeah, but we need to give him a chance, because store procedure is one aspect of SQL, but at least he has a very good understanding of our project of he has a very good understanding of our domain. But what he is lacking, he is just lacking a small module of SQL, that is store procedure. So definitely if we provide him with some training inside when he was high when we hire him in the organization, so definitely he will learn that store procedure. It will not difficult for him to learn that. So coming to our second objective, so let us see our second objective, that is to access technical competencies using a well defined scale. Yeah, scale is very important, because we hire a candidate based of a scale like 1 to 5. So the first question that we ask an candidate is, how would you rate yourself in a scale of 1 to 5 in that technology? So this is the first question that we ask. But is that scaling is really important? So let us see why that scaling is important and why we should give some normalcy while defining that scale. So what happened, we ask the question like, suppose rate yourself in this technology, so he will tell you 4. So definitely we will ask the question basis on that rating, that is 4. So we will not ask the candidates very easy question, we will directly jump to harder question, right? So if he didn't answer that harder question but he is able to answer the easy question, so we will understand the scale that he is not 4, he is somewhere around 3 or 3.5, he is not 4. So what if we know that afterwards, so should we hire him or not? So we need to give him a chance, because scaling is important but we need to think beyond that as well. So that is what our IT interview or a hiring person should think. So usually every interviewer has his or own method of defining a scale, that is depend on the type of panel you are, like if you are a tough, lenient, moderate, etc. So everyone has his own scale and he want that scale to be fit with the candidate. So if that scale is fulfilled, then definitely he is higher. If he is not matching with that scale, then he will be in trouble, the candidate definitely is not getting a chance. So what we should do, we must ask him a question related to technology, but we should ask him about other aspect as well, like uh, asking a question like, we are hiring a SQL developer and asking him, do you know .NET as well? He will say yes, then we again move our objective to .NET, then we ask him .NET question. But we are hiring for SQL developer, and if he is not able to answer on .NET question, so should we hire him or reject him? So that is also a question. So we need to stick with the scale and we need to stick with the job requirement. And if suppose he is all rounder, like he has a good knowledge of .NET as well as SQL, so definitely he will be higher. But if suppose he has good knowledge of SQL but he don't know .NET right now, but he can be able to learn afterward, then we should give him a chance. So right now, coming to our third objective, which is very important, that is standardized interviewing construct to be constantly followed by everyone with comprehensive feedback. So why it is important? Feedback is very important from both the parties, like from interviewer as well as the candidate. So what is the best method? So based on the JD that interviewer have understood, they evaluate the candidate on what basis, like ability to implement the technical concept, ability to write code, and ability to design solution, right? We will just give him some questions, just solve this query, write this query, give him the output, design this solution, and we will just ask him some questions regarding technical concept, like what is view. If we are hiring a SQL developer, then we will ask normal question, difference between view and table, such type of question we will ask. So based on that, should we a flow like that should be a flow, like starting with a technical concept, then write code, and then designing a solution. So what he is missing, what the interviewer is missing in this, so what is missing is identify training needs. Like what we need to gain from that is to identify the training needs what the interview can get from our organization, and the current gaps in technical competency that could be fulfilled. Like I said earlier, that he has a knowledge of good knowledge of SQL developer, but he don't know what is store procedure. He is having less knowledge of store procedure, basic knowledge of store procedure. So based on that, we can't reject him. So what we can do, we can train him in store procedure, and we can provide him with good training